here and thank you for being here with me tonight.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you
good
for having
morning,
me.
everyone, and thank you for joining us here today. For those who don't know me, my name is Khoa from the lead group at Color William Refer Realty. And joining me today is the guest speaker, Etel Igreda, accountant and director of Blossom CPA. I will pass it on to Etel to briefly introduce herself. So, Atal, can you share with us a little bit about you and your work, please?
Sure. So, I mean, on the personal level, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. It's a
Thank you,
lovely time
Atal.
to do this before we get busy with the week. Especially busy now with the kids at home, and we're working and we're making it happen, right? So
Yes.
yeah, I'm gonna, you know what that is like, right? And so I'm a director at Bloss CPA, and it's the firm that I founded it's been 2 years ago, but previously I had another firm. So I just moved on with the branding to Blossom CPA. Yeah, it's been great 9 years working with small businesses. And I think this time has been proven like a really I know it's very difficult for a lot of people because it's so unsettling, but at the same time, for people like us that work in the service industry, it's given us an opportunity to show what we can bring to our clients and to whoever that is looking for help and guidance, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm here for, to share some good information for people out there.
Yes, thank you so much, Atal. So, the purpose of the session here tonight, is where Atal will kindly share with us the information on the, like the benefit and the subsidy from the government to individual and businesses. Tal, can you please share with us, like in general, like when should you people apply for the EI and when is it for the CERB?
So now what's happened, there's been a little bit of confusion, or a lot of confusion in the beginning, right? So right now, whether you are employed, meaning that you are in payroll, or you're not, and you're self-employed, you both in both situations, you're still going through to the CERB, which is the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, as you called it. And basically, there's two ways that you can apply. You can either apply through Service Canada or through the CRA website. So what I recommend to people is go to the canada.ca website, and right there you're going to see on top is going to say financial assistance. Scroll down, you're going to find a section where it will say CERB, and there will be a box saying apply for CERB. It'll ask you simple questions to
Yeah.
get your application going. You don't have to have an ROE with yourself. You just have to answer some simple questions, and you will be on your way.
I see. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, like, what is the eligibility period here at Tal?
Right. So there's many things for one, for eligibility. We need to consider whether you've worked. If you were on payroll, they will ask you if you were employed, were you a full timer for the last 4 months, or if you were a part timer for less than 30 hours. That is for over like at least 8 months. And so that it would be the eligibility due to COVID-19 for employed people, so people that were on payroll, and for people that were not on payroll, that did not pay source deductions. All they need to prove is that they made in the last 12 months or in 2019 $5,000.
So
So that will
just 5,000.
just $5,000, and that will qualify you. That's like the one of the steps to qualify. Also, that you have to be at least 15 years old. You have to be a Canadian resident. That let me think. That you okay? So you earn that money for those months, and that you you have had uh, you are had sorry you went less than $1,000, you earn less than $1,000 for that, for those 4 weeks. So you are applying on a 4-week period every time.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
So
So it's not
every
one of
4 weeks you have to reapply.
you have to reapply.
Oh,
So for the first eligibility period is March 15 to April 11, I'm gonna say. Let me just double check here my calendar, which is um, right here. So we are March.
yeah, March
Yeah, so
27. Yeah.
April 11, that's right. So that first period, March 15 to April 11th, you must have earned under $1,000 and not have worked, okay? Not have worked for at least 14 days. This is
I
a little
see.
bit confusing. So you earn less than $1,000
Yeah.
and you did not work for 14 consecutive days.
I see.
Okay. Then
Yeah.
the following period, next 4 weeks, which would be the 12th of April to May 8th, right? You have to prove that you earned less than $1,000 in those 4 weeks,
I see.
and so forth. So every month you're reapplying. It's not,
Oh,
or
okay.
every
So
4 weeks you're reapplying. Okay, so it's not just one time and I'm done. Okay,
okay.
so the
So I
idea
think
that, tell me.
yeah. So I think it's better if I go by example. If I have a question here, because I do
Sure.
know somebody that basically she's a florist and
Mm-hmm.
she have a small shop. So can she or what should she apply for?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely. Okay, so she has a small shop. Okay, and then did she work for the first question would be, okay, obviously she's older than 15 years old. She's a resident of Canada. She has a
Yes.
SIN
Yes.
number, right? Would we know if she made more than $5,000 in
Okay.
2019? That would be the first question, right? And that would be answered easily or proven easily by her for the time when she files her taxes,
I see. So
right?
the
When you
requirement is
file,
to earn at least 5,000 in 2019.
right? Either within the 12 months, right? Either in the last 12 months or in 2019. So say she earned $1,000 in January, February, and 100 in March, and then the rest she made 15,000 in 2019,
Should be
right?
perfect, right? Yeah.
She would be fine. She would have passed that test. And then for that first 4 weeks, all she needs to prove is that she did not work. So obviously a shop would have closed down, the store front, right? Because nobody wants to come in the store.
Yeah.
So if she goes down for at least 14 days, consecutive days that she couldn't work, then she qualifies for
I see.
CEWS.
So the requirement, like the threshold is like the 5,000 over the
Mm-hmm.
last 12 months or in 2019.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
would it be same with that case of the florist? Would be the same that, let's say someone own a small car laundry business where they are the owner and they also the employee of that. So is that the same requirement for the 5,000 of earning income in 2019?
Okay, so who is it that we're talking about?
So let's
What?
say I know an owner of the small car laundry business where
Uh-huh.
they also the owner and the employee of the store.
Right.
So is that the same threshold of 5,000
Right.
income in 2019?
Absolutely. So it doesn't matter if you're an employer, like say he has a sole proprietorship and he has, like you said, a culinary business, right?
Yeah.
So he has somebody who prepares it in the back,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
that cook helper, right? He would be trying to meet the same requirements, right? So he would have been on payroll. Then he would have to be checking if I was a full time, did I work for at least that's over 30 hours a week? Did I work for the last 4 months full time?
Oh, full
And if
time. Okay.
right, or if I was a part-timer and less than 30 hours a week and I worked for a month,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Minimum of 8 months, then the CERB also applies.
I see. Yeah. So
Mhm.
it make more sense now. Yeah. So is that
Okay.
same, Etel, if someone who work two part-time jobs
Mm-hmm.
and pay by hour?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any
Okay.
difference?
The only thing that they would need to look at, okay, so say the two part-time jobs, and then what happens? Are they letting that person go from both jobs?
Oh, I see. Yeah, because in that case, I don't have this specific answer for that. It's
Right.
just like I know
So,
somebody who work a two part-time job
right,
and also the job, the hour are reduced.
right. So it would depend. In that case, it would depend. Are they making in those 4 weeks, the March 15th to April 11th?
Mm-hmm.
Were they not able to work for 14 consecutive days?
Mm,
And in the time that they did work, did they make less than $1,000, which is very
mm-hmm.
probable, right? Because
Yeah.
if they're hourly, right? If that's the case, then they meet the criteria.
I
They
see.
can get CERB.
CRB. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
so probably the last question regarding the individual benefit. So for someone like myself as a realtor,
Yes.
what am I qualified for? Like, am I qualified to apply for anything?
I think you're at least 15 years old, right?
For sure.
You're a resident of Canada, you have a valid SIN number,
Mhm.
right? So if you can prove or if you know that you have made more than $5,000 in 2019, or at least in the last 12 months,
Mhm.
so that would be like February 2020, March 2019 to February 2020, then for sure
Mhm.
you and then you stop working because of these reasons, and you made less than $1,000 in those 4 weeks for the first eligibility period,
Mm.
then you will qualify. If you didn't qualify for March, that's okay, because come April, if
Mhm.
you do not make more than $1,000, then you will qualify for CERB.
I see. So when you say make, because as a realtor, that we pay on commission, right? So it depends
Mm-hmm,
on the closed transaction and when we get paid. So when you say for the month of March or for the month of April, if we make less than that, do
mm-hmm,
you mean that we get paid? Because as a realtor, we don't have any fixed payment schedule. It's really
mm-hmm,
depend on how many transaction and when it close. So
mm-hmm.
when you say we get paid, is that the moment where you got paid by that commission check, or is there any specific
Right.
criteria? And when you
Mm-hmm.
also say income,
Mm-hmm.
is that a gross income
Right.
or the net income? Because us as a realtor, we have a lot of like expand, like marketing expand that we spend
Right.
on. So when you talk about income, is that a gross or the net income?
It will be okay. So, it would have to be your gross income,
The gross. Okay.
because because using as reference that when they're asking individuals for their income, um, when you get a check,
Mm.
right? Actually would have to be, no, let me think about this through. It would have to be your net income, right? So
Is it
minus
the
your expenses. Yes,
minus the expand, right?
it would
Yeah.
have to be minus expenses, because then what are you really taking home, right?
Yes, definitely. Yes. Because for those
So,
who, like, let's say, get T4, that what is that they bring home. But for
right.
us,
And when they
yeah.
calculate your tax bracket, at the end they calculate what your net income is
Mm.
after your RRSP, and if you have a small businesses, your
Mm-hmm.
net income after all business expenses, right? So you
Yeah,
would need to calculate what it is that you earned
I
at
see.
the end of
Okay.
those expenses for that period,
Mm,
right?
so if net would be 5,000, then we qualify for some
Right. And then we're talking about you're talking about the CERB for specific. First, to qualify, you need to make at least that. Let me just turn on this light because I see that it's really that. 1 second, sorry.
No problem.
Hello. Sorry about that. Yeah.
No worry. Yeah.
I was like, oh, I can't see myself anymore.
Yes. Actually, the sun
Yeah.
had already
Yeah,
just set.
it just said exactly. Yeah, so we were talking about okay, so to qualify, you at least have to prove that there is $5,000 income minimum, right? So obviously if you make more in the year after so it's the minimum that you would
The
have to make,
minimum. Okay.
right? So obviously,
Yeah.
if you are above, then you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because the idea is if you did not make any money, like say, I did not work for most of 2019, right? Then how could I get $500 a week, right? When I
When
didn't
basically you
work
didn't
at
work.
all. Right.
Yes.
I didn't work. I didn't even make $5,000. So what would make me qualify all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
It's for
It
people
makes
who,
sense. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Etel, as for the small business, right? What is the
Mm-hmm.
main subsidy available for the small business?
Mm-hmm. So for small businesses, the subsidies are more around the payroll portion. So if you do not have employees on payroll, then right now there's nothing really available to a small business other than the commercial rent subsidy that's coming,
Mm-hmm.
and so that means your landlord is going to get um, a subsidy, and then should be passing it on to the renters, right?
Okay.
So if your business does not have any payroll, you
Yeah.
cannot
So,
qualify.
okay. So if the small business that have payroll, what
Mhm.
is the requirement to of the
Right.
payroll, to get the subsidies?
Okay, so for the wage subsidy, all you have to do is basically there's a 75% that you have to prove. It's a 75 wage subsidy, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
prove that you lost in the month of March. And now this is calendar, okay? In
Okay.
the calendar month of March, you made 85% or less compared to last March, or
Mm.
compared to the average of January and February
Oh, okay.
of this year. If, for instance, you were not open last March 2019,
Yeah.
right? Or those numbers are not very favorable because maybe it was cyclical, maybe you were just starting, so many things that could happen. So they're giving you that option. You could either go with an average,
Mm-hmm.
or you could go with last year's to this year's March.
I see.
And you're also given the chance of looking at what you invoice, which is the accrual method, versus what you spent, what you earned in actual deposits to the business bank account in cash.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other part of it where they're helping
Mm.
you figure this out
Oh, I see.
to your benefit, right? So 75% of the wages, and that is um, based on there's either a maximum of 847 per week or 75% of what you paid your employees and even yourself
Mm.
um, and pre-crisis.
I see.
So,
Okay.
so not all of a sudden, you made $2,000 a month, and now you're going to pay yourself 3,000 because you're going to get 75 from the government, 75% from the
Mm.
government, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's one. And then the other one, if the business is not qualified, it has not lost for the month of March, 15% of revenues compared to last year, compared to a comparable
Mm-hmm.
period, um, or a 70% or sorry, 30% loss for April and May in sales, then you can qualify for the 10% source deduction subsidy.
I see.
So you cannot do both. You cannot get 75% for the government and 10% for source deductions. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the second option for businesses that have payroll. And then there's what we talked about, the rental agreement, and hopefully the commercial rental subsidy that's coming, and the business loan, right?
Oh yeah.
So, which is the one that people have been talking about quite a bit.
Yeah. So can you give us more detail about that business loan? Like who qualify for, what type of business that are qualified for the business loan?
Again, it's all around payroll. So you have to remit your payroll number, your payroll account number, and the T4 summary. So everything that you paid in payroll expenses last year, 2019, right? Which we would have filed, like say for a business that has payroll for February 28th, we would have had to file the summary to CRA with all the T4 slips for the employees.
Yes, it must have been done
So
before.
we used, before all this happened, right? To be compliant, right? And so now you just basically provide the basic information of the shareholder and the application, and that CRA information and the amount. And if it's over 20,000, then you are eligible. But now how the banks are dealing with this is different. Some banks are giving it as a loan, and they give you the full 40K, and all the terms kind of apply the same. And other banks are giving it to you as a line of credit. Some of them are saying basically, okay, so you get a line of credit, you can have transactions in that line of credit until the end of this year, and after that, it's whatever you took out, that's the amount of your loan. Under 40K, obviously, because the maximum is 40K.
Okay, so do we apply directly with the CRA, or in this case,
no,
through the bank?
You have to go to the bank where the bank account of the business has been since last month. So
okay,
they
directly to the bank
have
where the business.
Right, where they already have information.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, it's a bit. It's clear now. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where it's a little bit different between banks, and we're trying to figure it out as we go with every institution how it gets administered. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that's so far the help that small businesses are. So it's all related to payroll. So if you pay people directly, and you pay source deductions. Oh, and by the way, source deductions or payroll, if the business does not have cash flow, they still need, it doesn't matter. The government's not going to say, well, I really would like to pay payroll to 5 people, but right now I can't. Can they still give me the subsidy? No.
No, it has to be proof. Yeah.
Exactly. You have to pay first. So the setup for all these subsidies is the same. You pay the paycheck to the employee like normal, and then you have to wait, you have to apply, and then the money is going to come in. So we kind of
do you recommend for those who go and apply right away, or should we wait and see is any new rule coming in? Because as of last week and this week, I see the in terms of the criteria, because last week I checked the payroll have to be above 50,000, and the recent week the news coming out when you share the information on your site is that it less than 20,000 income.
Right.
So should we as a business wait a bit, and what should we do?
Right, because you know what, then the other part of it is they even changed. Before it was you have to prove 30% loss of revenue in March, and then they brought it up to 15. So this is where it's really good for business owners and accountants and lawyers we're all reaching out to our MPPs. Small businesses are reaching out to their MPPs, and we're saying, well, what about this? Like, because it was half through March, maybe I don't have a 15% loss, but I'm sure, sorry, a 30%. But I'm sure I know that it's going downhill and I need help now. So that's why they amended it. And I think it's based on all this feedback that they're amending a lot of these subsidies. So yeah, it's, even when they're doing the bills, I mean, as they're legislating it, it's changing as well, right? So even for as accountants to put it to application, we're having to read all how we actually have to prove the calculations. So yeah, so actually waiting a little bit if it can be done. See, now this the other issue. So people that rush to lay off their employees, and now they're thinking, oh, I think I can afford I can qualify for the wage subsidy and afford the 25% that the government's not paying. Then that means that we have to work back and inform those employees, if you have taken the CERB and we're going to apply for the wage subsidy, you're going to have to repay that if it's for the same period, because that's double dipping, right? So you cannot, the employee cannot be on a CERB and the employer get a wage subsidy for that same employee. Right. So there's a lot of complexities with all of this kind of bubbling up and and working itself, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. It's
So
like
waiting is a good idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea too if you can still afford to wait a little bit out, isn't it?
Yes, and just to line up everything, all the information, right?
Yeah, and as soon as someone apply for all of this, how soon do they get the fund, Etel?
It's 3 to 6 weeks, and again, it's the same idea with the CERB and that every 4 weeks you're applying. So for the wage subsidy, it's going to be the same thing. So how it's written right now is if a business qualifies for March, they immediately qualify for April. Okay, so at least you have that certainty, right? But you still have to qualify. You still have had to pay those employees, right?
Yeah.
And would that loan be enough to cover your expenses because you're paying that payroll? That is, every business has to see their numbers, see if they have emergency fund, see where they can cut reasonably. So it's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. So now I'm assuming you busier than usual, isn't it?
Yeah, extremely. Like sometimes I can't even remember my name. I mean, I'm saying the same things. I'm repeating them with my clients, and sometimes I'm like, "What was that? Oh God!" Because I'm starting to like even, I just get so tired of going over and over and trying to figure out for every individual case, and I'm like, "What? Does that make any sense?" Right?
Yes.
But
Thank
really
you so
busy.
much for your work for everybody, because this is the time where we do need all this useful information, because even if myself I read the news and the criteria online, but still a lot of question and concern, so it's really helpful for us to reach out to someone like a professional like you to help us answer all our questions. So Etel, for those who after this session would love to get in touch with you to get more detail, will they be able to get to you through phone or email?
Well, the easiest way right now, I would say, is go to the website. There's lots of contact forms there. Leave all your information. You can email me at etel@blossomcpa.ca. You can call me. Leave a message, and I'll do my best to get back to you guys as soon as
Thank you
possible.
so much, Etel, for your
Thank you
time with
so
us
much.
tonight.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you so much.
Yes, and best wishes and be well and be safe to you and your whole family.
Oh, thank you. Same to you. Okay,
Thank
and
you,
stay safe
Etel.
and healthy. Okay, take care. Thank you. Yeah.